I'm turning 25, and after helping more than 40 buyers and sellers over the past 2 years as a real estate agent, I've learned lessons that can save people thousands of dollars and a lot of unnecessary stress. So today I'm sharing 25 things real estate has taught me before turning 25. Let's jump into number 1. Closing costs or rate buydowns can beat a price reduction. A seller paying closing costs or helping buy down an interest rate can sometimes help a buyer more than a simple price reduction, and that surprises people. A lower purchase price sounds good, but the monthly payment and cash needed to close may matter more depending on the buyer's situation. This is where negotiation and strategy matter. The best deal is not always the one with the biggest price cut. Sometimes the better structure is the one that helps the buyers afford the home more comfortably. And sellers should understand this too. Offering the right concession can make a property more attractive without always dropping the list price. A sewer line inspection can be one of the smartest things you do. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that a regular home inspection does not always tell you everything. A house can look solid above ground, while one of the most expensive problems is hiding underneath the yard. That is why sewer line inspections matter. A sewer scope can show issues like roots, cracks, collapses, or blockages that may not be obvious during a normal walkthrough. Nobody gets excited paying for another inspection, and I understand that. But a sewer repair can get expensive quickly. Once you own the house, that problem becomes yours. For older homes, I would rather see a buyer spend a little more upfront and know what they're walking into. Peace of mind matters when the risk is buried underground. T-lock shingles are one of those details buyers may not even notice until insurance becomes part of the conversation. A roof can look normal to somebody walking around the property. Then the insurance side gets involved, and suddenly the shingles create a problem. T-lock shingles can be difficult because replacement materials are no longer commonly available, and insurability can become an issue depending on the roof condition and the insurer. That can affect the loan, the closing timeline, and the buyer's comfort level. This is a perfect example of why the details matter. You might love the house, but insurance still has to work. Before assuming a roof is fine, make sure the inspection and the insurance pieces line up. Pets can create more damage than owners realize. Pets are a part of life for a lot of homeowners, but they can affect a property more than people think. Scratched floors, stained carpet, yard damage, and smells all hurt buyer perception. And smell is especially powerful. A buyer may not say much during the showing, but orders can make them mentally check out pretty fast. Pet owners sometimes get used to the smell because they live with it every single day, but buyers notice it immediately. If you're selling, this is something to take seriously before listing. Cleaning, flooring, getting the air quality and smell better, and tackle repairs that may need attention. The goal is not to hide that pets live there. The goal is to make sure buyers are focused on the home and not distracted by damage or odor. The attic deserves more attention than buyers think. An attic can tell you the things the main living space hides. Moisture issues may show up there first. A roof problem can leave clues. Bathroom vents that vent into the attic instead of outside can create conditions for mold. Insulation, ventilation, stain, and airflow, they all matter. Most buyers are focused on the kitchens, the bathrooms, the flooring, and the attic, it's not really exciting, but it can reveal expensive issues. When the inspector is going to inspect the attic, take that seriously. A clean living room does not mean the top of the house is healthy. A finished basement without a sump pump pit can make me nervous. Basements deserve serious attention in this area. A finished basement can look great during a showing, but moisture risk still needs to be considered. When there is no sump pump pit, I start asking more questions in my head, and that does not automatically mean the house has a problem or that it will. It does mean the buyer should understand how water has been managed, whether there's any history of moisture, and what the property's drainage looks like. A basement should be evaluated for function and not just appearance. Downspout extensions are small but important. Downspout extensions are not exciting, but they can help protect a foundation. Water sitting too close to the house can create problems over time. Basement moisture, grading issues, and foundation concerns often start with basic drainage. This is one of the cheapest things homeowners can pay attention to. Directing water away from the home, it matters. A nice basement doesn't really mean much if the exterior drainage is working against it. Buyers should notice it during the showing, and sellers should fix simple drainage issues before they become bigger objections. Siding material matters more than people realize. Siding is not just about how the house looks. It affects durability, maintenance, and future repair costs. Metal siding and engineered wood, they can be very great options. Vinyl siding is common, and that can be perfectly fine, but hail, that can create problems. And that matters in North Dakota. A seller should also understand how exterior condition affects buyer perception. People notice when the outside of the home looks beat up. The exterior sets the tone before anyone steps inside. This is kind of a fun one, but old shag carpet might be hiding hardwood floors. An older house with shag carpet can scare a lot of buyers away. Sometimes that carpet is hiding classic hardwood floors right underneath. That is one of those surprises that completely change how a buyer sees a property. Some dated homes have great bones. A buyer with vision may find value where someone else only sees work. But don't dismiss an older home just because the surface looks dated. There may be more potential than the listing photos suggest. I would consider getting a mold test in a previously flooded house. A renovated house can look clean after it's been flooded, new flooring, fresh paint, and everything is updated to make the problem feel like old history. That doesn't always mean the concern is gone. If a home has been flooded in the past, I would seriously consider getting a mold test. Moisture can create issues behind walls. This is not about just being paranoid, it's about respecting what water can do to a property. A beautiful renovation should still come with honest questions, and the past matters when moisture is involved. A home that can pass FHA, USDA, or VA requirements may appeal to a larger buying pool. That matters when it's time to sell. Some buyers rely on these loan programs. Military buyers may use VA financing. Other buyers may need FHA or USDA options depending on the property and location. If a home has safety conditions, peeling paint, a roof, or other issues that prevent those loans from working, demand it may shrink. Sellers should understand this before listing. Making certain repairs up front can sometimes open the door to more buyers. More financing options mean more opportunity. Staying at least 3 years can help avoid a costly exit. If you buy a home, it is generally wise to think in terms of at least a few years. 3 years is a common benchmark I like buyers to consider. Selling too quickly can create problems because closing costs, commissions, moving expenses, and marketing conditions can eat into your equity. But also understand nobody can predict life perfectly, jobs change, military orders happen, and unexpected things come up. Still, buying with a short timeline deserves caution. You do not want to sell and realize you need to bring cash to close after all the fees. Before buying, think about your likely time horizon. A smart purchase makes sense beyond the first few months. Condos can be underrated for first-time buyers. The average sold price for a condo is lower than a single-family house. Some buyers, they want simplicity. They do not want a big yard right away. Maintenance can feel intimidating, but a move-in ready condo may offer a cleaner point of entry into home ownership. That can be especially helpful for someone who wants to build equity without taking on every single responsibility that a single family house has. But of course, the HOA fees, the rules, the financing, and resale, they all need to make sense. But the right condo, it can be a smart fit. Not every home has to be a single family house with a big yard. A double-wide manufactured home on posts and piers can be a better option than people assume. And some of the newer ones, they are really nice. If the lot allows it and the financing makes sense, this type of home can create a more affordable path for certain buyers. Not every buyer needs a traditional stick-built house. The property, the condition, the age, and the resale, they all still need to be considered. But still, I wouldn't dismiss the option automatically. Affordable housing choices matter, especially when buyers are trying to get into something practical without overextending. One-level homes can sell fast. One-level homes have a strong demand for a reason. They work for a lot of different buyers. Someone may want one-level living for themselves. Another buyer may be thinking about a parent or a grandparent. A homeowner may simply want fewer stairs long-term. North Dakota has an older population, and that makes this type of layout even more relevant. A ranch style or a single-level home can appeal to first-time home buyers, downsizers, retirees, and people thinking ahead. A house does not need to be trendy when the layout solves a real-life problem. Personally, ranch-style homes are some of my favorite houses long-term. The layout, it's practical. They can fit younger buyers, older buyers, families, downsizers, and people planning ahead. Stairs are not a problem in the main living areas. Resale demand tends to stay strong because the buyer pool is pretty broad. When a home works for multiple stages of life, that gives it lasting appeal. Living close to work can help prevent burnout. Location is not only about resale or convenience. It can affect your energy. A shorter commute can help prevent burnout, especially when your job already takes a lot from you. People moving for oil and gas work, healthcare, trades, or demanding schedules should think carefully about where they live. A house further away, it may offer more space or a lower price. That trade-off, it can make sense for some people. For others, the commute starts taking too much from their day. You do not just buy the house. You buy the routine around it. That routine matters more than people expect. The North Dakota primary residence tax credit can make a real difference. The primary residence tax credit can help small town homeowners pay very low annual property taxes in some situations. For certain buyers, that can make ownership feel more manageable. Taxes are part of the real cost of owning a home. People may often only focus on the interest rate on their mortgage payment, but annual costs, they still matter. When a tax credit reduces that burden, it can help the overall budget. Small differences in the annual costs, they can add up. A vacant house in the winter can be risky. Vacant homes during winter, they can make me feel cautious. I've seen situations where a power blip caused problems because the furnace didn't kick back on properly. Pipes can freeze and burst, and water damage can happen fast. A house sitting empty in cold weather, it needs to be monitored carefully. That applies to sellers, buyers, investors, and anyone leaving a property vacant for a stretch. Heat, winterization, and regular check-ins, they all matter. A vacant house may look calm from the outside, while a serious issue is developing inside. And honestly, winter, it doesn't give you much room for negotiation. Some buyers really do purchase sight unseen. That may sound strange to someone who's never really had a major relocation. Military moves and out-of-state relocation can make it more common than people may think. When someone is moving for affordability, orders, work, or if they're on a very tight timeline, they may not be able to visit in person. Videos, photos, inspections, and clear communication become that much more important. A sight unseen purchase can work, but trust and detail matter. The buyer needs a strong understanding of what they're buying before they make that leap. The spring market gets crazy for a reason. Spring has a way of changing the energy in the market. Buyers come out when weather starts improving. People are more willing to tour homes. And sellers sometimes they want to list before summertime. Inventory can still be very tight from the winter, which makes competition feel that much stronger. That combination can turn a calm search into a fast-moving situation. A buyer who waits too long, they may lose a house they liked. A seller who prepares well can sometimes benefit from the timing. The lesson is simple. Spring is not just busier because people say it is. The season changes buyer behavior, showing activity, and urgency all at once. Low inventory is partly a rate lock story. Inventory has been low in many areas because a lot of homeowners are holding on to lower interest rates from the COVID-era market. And honestly, I don't blame them. Many people may never see rates that low again. When someone has a low payment on their current home, moving becomes that much harder, and that affects the number of homes available for buyers. Low inventory is not always about sellers refusing to sell their house for no reason. Sometimes the math of leaving a low rate simply does not feel worth it. That is important for buyers to understand. The market is shaped by human decision, not just numbers on a chart. Minot has more housing demand drivers than people realize. In my opinion, Minot should continue having steady home purchasing demand because the area is supported by several different forces. Minot Air Force Base brings relocation. Energy plays a role in the region. The hospital supports employment and services. Local jobs, education, trades, and regional needs all contribute to the market. That makes Minot different from places where housing demand may simply depend on one trend. When national news talks about markets crashing in places like Florida, California, Texas, or other states, that does not automatically describe what is happening here in Minot. Every market is local. Minot has its own demand drivers. A buyer or seller should pay attention to local conditions instead of assuming national headlines tell the full story. Missing title insurance or an abstract can cost sellers money. If you are a seller and you do not have title insurance or an abstract, that can create an extra cost. In some cases, a new abstract may need to be created. That can affect timing and expenses. This is one of those behind-the-scene details sellers may not think about until they're preparing to list. A smooth sale is not only about cleaning the house and taking good pictures. The legal and ownership documents, they have to be ready too. If you're thinking about selling, it is smart to gather what you have early. That can help avoid surprises later. And finally, number 25, yard upgrades do not always pay back the way sellers hope. A beautiful yard can help the home show better. Sprinkler systems, landscape, and outdoor improvements may make the property feel more cared for. That does not always mean you'll get every single dollar back when you sell. If you love your yard and you plan to use it, the value, it may be personal. From a resale standpoint though, buyers may not pay extra for every upgrade the way a seller hopes. Sometimes interior updates, mechanical improvements, or repairs create a stronger return than expensive landscaping. Before spending a lot with resale in mind, think about whether the upgrade improves buyer demand or mostly improves your own enjoyment. Those are different goals. And these are 25 things I learned before turning 25 in real estate. Some are buyer lessons and others matter more for sellers. Few are tiny details that can create big problems and people ignore them. Real estate is not just about finding a house that looks good online. It's about understanding what can go right, what can go wrong, and what details deserve attention before title changes hands. If you're buying or selling around Minot, these are the kinds of things I want you to be thinking about before making a move. A smarter decision usually comes from knowing what questions to ask early. And if you want more practical real estate breakdowns from what I'm seeing in the Minot market, that is exactly what I cover here on this channel.